is ugly in the Baltimore backfield.
Yeah, man. God, it is.
Oh,
It was a impossible quagmire before, and then with the four-set release and re-signing, it just got even more confusing somehow. Because now, at
yeah,
least before you looked at it saying, well, four-set's probably the guy, and you take him in like the 9th or 10th round and just kind of hope that that turns into really good value. But now I honestly don't even know. My my take on four-set, which I haven't seen many people echoing. I will give a shout out to JJ Zacharyson, who he does like an article for Number Fire, like 15 transactions every week. And in that one,
Yeah.
he called out Terrence West and sort of like pointed out his worry about Forsett that I share, but I haven't really seen much of anywhere, which is that if Forsett really was their lead back, they wouldn't even risk releasing him for a couple days, even as like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We're going to resign you. Don't worry about it. You know, he was a free agent.
Yeah.
Some other team could have come along, given him a better offer, and he's gone. So I'm of the mind that Forsett is just another cog in their committee. They don't think he's that particularly important. They just like having that sort of veteran presence, and it's sort of, well, the devil you know is worse than the one you don't. So he's just like a safety valve, I think. But they wouldn't mind not having him. They wouldn't have released him if they didn't. Are you of that mind, or are you kind of following the narrative of he's back,
I
he'll
don't
be the
even
starter?
know. It's such a weird situation because, I mean, you had Dixon in there for a period of time, and then it was really a mess.
Yeah.
But I thought Dixon would kind of establish himself as a lead back. Lo and behold, he goes down, so that doesn't help anything, right? He'll be out for the first half of the season, maybe. And so we're left with this three-headed monster. Well, monster might not be an apt description, but you know there are three pieces to the Baltimore backfield right now. You have Justin Forsett, Terrence West, and Bucky Allen.
Bucky Al.
And then there was, so Forsett gets released, and we're thinking, okay, wow, okay, great. Now it's clear that West will be the early down back, and Buck Allen will be the passing down back. That was true for 2 days. Everyone kind of jumped on Terrence West, picked him up off the waiver wire, thought they got a steal, and then Baltimore comes out and says, just kidding, guys. We're going to re-sign Justin Forsett. And then apparently it's been mentioned that it was the plan all along. You know, that Forsett was a part of this. That's why he never cleaned out his locker. That's why he didn't say bye to any of his teammates or thank the organization or anything like that, because he was playing a part, which would make sense. Like, if they were going to open him up to other teams, they would have had to have a conversation with them and said, look, this is what's going to happen. We will release you for a couple of days, but we will come back. We'll give you the same contract, which they did, and a $100,000 signing bonus. They must have presented this to him for the guarantee that he wouldn't go sign somewhere else. That's the only way I could see it happening, like an under-the-table deal, where they're like, look, okay, just because of the way contracts are structured with other veteran players, you are the one that we have to put out there right now to make our cap flexibility work, but it will only be for a couple of days. Then we'll re-sign you, and you'll still be the guy. Forsett came out and said he still views himself as a starting running back. You can't really put too much weight into that, but I guess you can back that up if you want to believe. If you're a Forsett owner and you're holding on to like hope that he will establish himself as a lead back, he was running with the ones throughout the majority of camp.
Yeah.
And even in the dress rehearsal game, he was the lead back until Dixon got hurt. Well, I mean, he was a lead back before Dixon got hurt, I should say. I don't know, though. It's really, realistically, it's probably a backfield to avoid.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you have a West or a Forsett, you can stash them on the end of your bench. They could become a bench stash.
A bench stash,
if you will. I might prefer Buck Allen out of the three of them at this point because he has an actual role carved out for him.
Buck Allen's definitely like the ideal, like, I guess the zero RB guy, PPR guy out of that group because he catches the passes. He kind of has a safe role, and then you just kind of hope that he can carve out something bigger from there. Maybe some injuries make some way. But yeah, it's rough because before I at least like Forsett is this value, and it was safe to assume he had this role. But now it's everything you said makes perfect sense. Yeah. But it could just as easily go the other way, and Terrence West is actually the guy, or maybe Buck Allen is the guy. Like we don't know. It wouldn't be the first time preseason indications were wrong. So yeah, I'm kind of the mind, I guess, of unless you have an open spot on your bench, just just avoid it. You know,
Yeah.
I picked up Terrence West in every league and have since been trying to like see if I can get anything for him. But I'll keep him on my bench if I can't, just because it's week 1, anything could happen, and it's possible that West somehow emerges as the guy. Like he's already the most likely goal line back, and maybe he has this resurgence and he outplays Justin Forsett and he earns the early down work and he becomes this this low end mid range RB2 that has some value.
Could be, yeah.
So it's,
I mean,
yeah,
it's really tough to tell. Trestman loves his lead backs. Forsett was the lead back 2 years ago. He was the lead back last year before he got injured.
Yeah.
So it's reasonable that, I mean, it's understandable at least that he thinks he's a lead back, but we don't really know. I mean, in our league, I was part of that group that had the opportunity to draft Justin Forsett in like the last round because the news had already broke that he was released.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had your draft after that, then there's a chance that you got a potential steal in like the last round of the draft. I mean, if you drafted Forsett in like the 14th or 15th round of your draft, then you're fine. You leave him on the bench for a couple of weeks until you see how that backfield plays out. And then if he does become the early down back, he probably won't be a 3-down back. I mean, I can't see him being a 3-down back anymore at this stage in his career. But if he is an early down back, then he has value. And for a late round draft pick, you're probably okay. But, I'm only going to hold Forsett for a couple of weeks. I'm not really a fan of that backfield. I do like Kenneth Dixon, though.
Yeah.
He's probably my favorite back. And if you are in a keeper league or if your league has an IR spot, definitely go out and get Kenneth Dixon. He's a name that a lot of people outside of the industry probably aren't talking about right now because if you're in a casual league, people probably don't want to roster somebody who will be out, the first 5, 6. I guess he's on the IR, right?
I'm not sure. I thought he wasn't, but then I was able to just put him in my IR slot in a league. So I don't know is the answer. Last I saw, he wasn't on the IR. He was just going to miss the first 2 or 3
I don't think
weeks.
he is.
Yeah.
I think that was just a weird Yahoo thing. Because he's injured for a period of time, maybe you're allowed to put him in that spot. But
yeah. I'm with you that he's a good stash in my keeper or if you have an IR slot. I hesitate to stash him in a regular
redraft.
Yeah, just because your bench is already kind of shallow. And honestly, once week 1 starts, there's going to be some waiver ad that is more useful to you than someone to stash for a few weeks. But he's definitely a name to keep in mind, where as soon as we hear that he's practicing again, he's on track to start, then he's kind of worth picking up and stashing.
Yeah, and what you need to do with these players is if you're in a redraft league and you're looking to, hit a home run on the waiver wire, you need to be, preemptive. You don't want to wait till the week before he plays and then try to pick him up because he's a hot commodity at that point, or even the week after he plays his first game. That's just a folly. What you really essentially need to do is, like you were saying, look at the Baltimore beat Twitter, see what they're saying about Kenneth Dixon. Is he practicing? And then a few weeks before he plays his first game, maybe 2 weeks, because you don't want to burn that bench spot for too long, pick him up when people still aren't willing to go out and get him, because then you already have him locked and loaded.
Yeah.
We saw this last year with a couple of players where, you wanted to be preemptive. It didn't always work out. I did this with Teal Julius. I went out and got him a couple of weeks before he came back. Now, that didn't pan out, but there are these injured players that are just sitting out there that nobody really wants to burn a bench spot with, and Kenneth Dixon fits into that mold. So if you're in a keeper, grab him now. Because I think he has that value, especially coming off the waiver wire. He'll probably be the lead back next year, or at least that's how we see him.
Yeah.